I have to wait for them? Do I have to wait for him? We're good to go? Okay. All right. I know. All right. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I don't know what happened here. Hold on. I'm having technical difficulties. I shrunk it to 17%, so I can't see it. Come back up. Okay. I won't click off of it. All right, folks. I'm calling the Board of Adjustments and Appeals meeting to order. Here it is. Now it's 6:01. We're going to stand up and say the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Ms. Kim, roll call, please.
Chairwoman Smith Rodriguez.
Here.
Vice Chairman Taylor.
Here.
Member Beckles.
Here.
Member Van Dieven. Here. Alternate Member Mandernack.
Here.
All right. For the board, if you all took a look at the minutes from our October 26, 2022 meeting, are there any corrections or changes that need to be made? All right. And if, do we take a motion to approve the minutes? Can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I move to approve the minutes for October 26, 2022.
And I second it.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. All right. Moving on to announcement of our quasi-judicial confirmation procedures. I'm going to read a little blurb here so you all can be placed on notice. All persons who anticipate speaking on any public hearing item must fill out an oath card to be heard on that agenda item and sign the oath card contained thereon. These cards are located on the table near the entrance to the council chamber, or they may be obtained from our recording secretary. The meeting will be conducted in accordance to the procedures adopted in Resolution 24-1997. Those speaking in favor of a request will be heard first, those opposed will be heard second, and those who wish to make public comment on the item will be heard third. The applicant will make a brief rebuttal if necessary. A representative from either side, for or against, may cross-examine a witness. Anyone who speaks is considered a witness. If you have photographs, sketches, or documents that you desire for the committee to consider, they must be submitted into evidence and will be retained by the city, and you can submit those exhibits to our recording secretary. So if all of you have not yet done so, please grab your oath card now and fill that out and hand it up to our end here. All right. Staff, has our items been advertised properly?
I'm used to Chelsea answering that one for me. Yes, they have.
All right. And regarding the sites to our members, have any of our members visited the sites or spoken to anyone regarding the items that we're hearing today or tonight? No, and no for me as well. All right. We do not have a consent agenda, nor do we have old business. We do have new business, starting with variance 21-2022, which is at 3705 Hickory Park Drive, which is a request for a rehearing. I'll turn it over to staff.
Thank you, Chairwoman. This item begins on page 10 of 78 of tonight's agenda. The applicant, Patricia Guittard, requested a variance to LDR section 28-391 G1, residential accessory buildings and structures, to allow less than the minimum 10.5-foot rear yard setback required for a swimming pool above ground for property located in the single-family low-density R1A zoning district. On October 26, 2022, the board denied the variance request. Per section 34-261A of the code, any applicant whose request for a variance has been denied may apply for a rehearing of the request. A request for a rehearing was submitted to the city on November 7, 2022, before the close of business. The rehearing will be for the sole purpose of deciding whether or not the previously denied variance should be reheard. The affirmative vote of 4 members on the board shall be necessary to grant or approve a rehearing request. If the request for rehearing is denied, the previous decision of the board shall be final. If the request for a rehearing is granted, the original application for variance shall be rescheduled for public hearing at the next regularly scheduled meeting of the board. And the next meeting of the board will be on January 25th. So if you decide to rehear the meeting, that's when the rehearing of that item will take place. Thank you.
speaker. All right, so to our board, open it up for discussion. We don't need to speak to the applicant. This is a board discussion? Is that correct?
So it is just a board decision. I will add that the applicant was unable to attend tonight, and so there is a letter from the applicant requesting the rehearing and also providing a graphic with an updated request to lessen the variance request, and those are both available in your Agenda Star folder on the desktop.
Okay. So turning to our board, do we want to have any discussion regarding whether or not it's appropriate or necessary to have a rehearing on the previous issue? I recall the issue. It's in our minutes as well. It was thorough. The applicant spoke, presented items, pictures, explanation. I think it was a rather thorough hearing. I know we evaluated the criteria.
I did not benefit from being at that original hearing.
Oh, your microphone, sorry.
Sorry, I wasn't. I did benefit from being at the original hearing, so I'm scanning what the change is, or I mean, something changed since the last of significance.
Page 78. That's your request.
We're having some technical difficulties here.
Because of the big
It keeps going
map.
down to 17%.
Well, you're just gonna have to, once you get
On
past
page
that.
78,
Then it goes right back down.
those are her rehearing issues.
78 of 78. It was on 78 pages.
And then
Well, it's 13 of 78. Oh, this is the letter, if you have a problem. I'm sorry.
anytime you do anything, it shrinks down to 17%.
Oh, 13. I'm sorry, 13, page 13.
Yeah, it's that big map.
Let's go.
Page 13.
But I see, and everything jumps down to there.
You're scrolling hard. Yeah. It's just a pain because of that one page.
Sorry for inconvenience.
All right, so on page 13 of 78 was the letter that staff was referring to.
A 1 foot delta is what she's asking for. So what she's asking in the letter is just to make a 1 foot adjustment towards compliance, but still not there. Is that correct?
If I can try to add some clarity, so the previous request was for a variance to 5.5 feet within the setback, and the applicant is now requesting for that to be decreased and for the variance to only be 4.5 feet into the setback, so it reduces the encroachment into the setback. And then the applicant also states that the additional evidence provided is related to geography, which I believe is the site schematic showing where the request is supposed to, is necessary.
But for my benefit, the new information that the person is asking us to consider is just that 1 foot delta. I mean, the other graphics were provided before.
Yes, sir.
The issue is really handicap access. That's her argument. And that's why she wants the variance. She wanted 5, I think it was 5.5 originally, and is willing to go down to 4.5. And she states in her letter that the issue has to do with the maneuverability of future handicapped residents that are going to be there. And she states that part of the issue is trees that she has in the backyard cause a barrier for her to and the residents to get around.
I think this appears to be the exact same argument, albeit a slightly smaller variance, but all the matters that she discussed in this letter are the matters that we considered, I think, at length in the initial hearing. I'm of the opinion that a rehearing is not necessary on this particular matter, that it was thoroughly heard and the law was applied accurately. I don't think the new evidence that she is referencing in this letter is evidence that is new at all. I think she specifically covered these exact issues at the last hearing. Any other discussion on it? If that's a no, then I'll entertain a motion as to whether to grant or deny a rehearing.
I will move that we deny a rehearing on this issue.
I have a motion to deny the rehearing. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
I have a second. May I please, any further discussion? May I please have roll call?
Chairwoman Smith Rodriguez,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Taylor,
Yes.
Member Beckles,
Yes.
Member Van Deven,
Yes.
Alternate Member Mandranak.
Yes.
The request for rehearing has been denied with the support of all members present at the board. All right, let us move on to our second issue, which is variance number 25-2022 at 2343 Armor Court. Staff?
Thank you. The applicant, Russell Cox, is requesting a variance to LDR Section 28-391, residential accessory buildings and structures, to allow for a screen porch on an existing deck located at 2343 Armor Court. If I could point the board to page 17 of 78, there's additional analysis.
Page 17.
17 of 78. There's sometimes there's multiple page numbers listed because of the way that the agenda is published, but it's page 17 of 78. Let me know if you're able to find it. It's in the analysis section. In 1993, several variances were approved to allow for the existing pool and raised concrete deck to encroach into the rear, interior side, and side corner yard setbacks. The applicant submitted a permit to fill in the pool and resurface the concrete. The current variance request is to allow a new attached screen porch with impervious roof to encroach 9 feet into the 15-foot rear yard setback.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions of staff?
You gonna let them read their recommendation?
No?
No? Okay. All right.
What was your comment?
The staff generally reads the recommendation. It wasn't read today. I don't think it's required to be read. It's in our packet on page 17. If
For
staff
the
would
benefit
like
of
to
the-
read it, he
for
may.
I would love to. The recommendation states, staff recommends approval of the variance to the rear yard setback for a screen porch. There are conditions on the property that are peculiar to the land. Granting the variance will not confer a special privilege that is denied by others, and the variance is the minimum necessary to make reasonable use of the land. The lot is irregularly shaped, and the rear yard is narrow. Thank you.
Council, is it necessary to put on the record the criteria? I know staff generally reads it, but I don't know if it's required.
It's required for staff to provide input as to why the variance should or should not be granted, and at a minimum, that recommendation should be stated. But as a precursor to that recommendation, I would advise, yes, that we read the criteria so that all parties do know the criteria that are being established. It is standard to read the criteria once for the meeting so that the subsequent applications do not have to have that repeated.
Okay, so I could just ask staff to read the criteria on page 17. Thanks.
Absolutely. Section 34-226 states that the board shall grant a variance request when, in the opinion of the Board of Adjustment and Appeals, owing to special conditions, the literal enforcement of such ordinance or regulations would do manifest injustice to or impose an unnecessary hardship upon the applicant. In order to authorize any variance to the provisions of such ordinance, the board must consider the following criteria. A. Special conditions and circumstances exist which are peculiar to the land, structure, or building involved, and which are not applicable to other lands, structures, or buildings in the same zoning. B. Special conditions and circumstances do not result from the actions of the applicant. C. Granting the variance requested will not confer upon the applicant any special privilege that is denied by the ordinance to other lands, buildings, or structures in the same zoning district. D. The literal interpretation of the provisions of the ordinance would deprive the applicant of rights commonly enjoyed by other properties in the same zoning district under the terms of the ordinance. E. The variance granted is the minimum variance that will make possible the reasonable use of the land, building, or structure. F. The granting of the variance will preserve the spirit of the ordinance and remain in harmony with its general purpose and intent. G. In granting the variance, the public safety and welfare must be assured. And H. In no case shall the granting of a variance result in a change of use which would not be permitted in that zone.
Thank you. All right. Is our applicant present? Yes. Great. So first card, please, Kim.
Russell Cox.
Mr. Cox, would you like to speak? You're not required to, but if you would like,
I don't.
come on up.
I don't really have anything to add in particular, other than it's all pretty much in here, and the staff recommendation
No, that's fine.
takes care
If
of
you
it.
want to, if you want to speak, you can state your name and your address. But if you don't need to speak. That's up to you.
I don't have anything else to add other than what's already in the application.
You're welcome to sit back down then. Any other cards?
No, ma'am.
All right. For discussion.
Question for staff. So essentially, your recommendation to allow is largely based on the shape of the irregular lot. Is that pretty much it?
Yes, sir. The irregularly shaped lot and the narrow setback. As well, there were previously approved variances for a swimming pool encroaching into this setback. And what the applicant is proposing is to construct a structure over the existing pool, which had been built with the benefit of a variance previously.
Okay, so it's a variance on a variance.
Any other questions of staff or comments amongst ourselves?
Just for clarification, you said he wanted to build a structure over the pool, but he really wanted to fill in the pool and build the structure on top.
The pool has already been filled in,
Okay.
and so what remains is a concrete deck.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion or comment or question? No? When the board is ready, then I will entertain a motion to approve or deny the variance request.
I motion to approve the request 25, 20, 22, 23, 43 at Armor Court.
Okay. I have a request to approve the variance.
Second.
I have a second. Any further discussion? No? Okay, roll call, please.
Member Beckles?
Yes.
Member Van Deven?
Yes.
Alternate Member Mandernack?
Yes.
Chairwoman Smith Rodriguez?
Yes?
Vice Chairman Taylor?
Yes.
Okay. Your variance is approved. You're welcome to stay. You're also welcome to leave. You're welcome. That brings us to variance 26-2022 at 3550 South Washington Avenue. Staff?
Thank you. The applicant, Mark D. Frank, on behalf of Titusville Mall LLC, is requesting variances to the following LDR section 32-9, ground sign regulations, section 32-9E, to allow second ground sign, and section 32-9B to increase the maximum surface area of ground signs for property located in the Urban Village UV zoning district. I do want to point the board to one page, page 35 of 78, where we have some underlined text there. And what we're trying to emphasize there is that if the board were to grant the variance for 2 signs, that you would also, in meeting the applicant's request, would also want to increase the amount of square footage, because if not, the 2, whereas there's 1 sign approved whereas 1 sign could be approved today, if you were to allow 2 signs, they would have to share the amount of square footage of signage that would be allowed today. So in order to meet what the applicant is requesting, you would also want to grant a second variance to allow additional square footage of signage along the right-of-way. And if that wasn't clear, I can try again, because I know that I kind of thought through that.
Okay. Are you intending to go through your analysis first?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
The master plan for this property proposes 131,950 square feet of retail sales and shops, restaurants and offices, a 7-floor, 153-room hotel, and multifamily residential buildings with a total of 340 residential units. Second ground sign. Corner lots with a roadway classification of collector or hire, a lot bounded on more than one side with paved street right-of-way, may have signage on each street frontage. The property has frontage on 4 public roadways. South Washington Avenue and South Hopkins Avenue are arterial roadways. Country Club Drive is a collector roadway, and Narvaez Drive is a local road. The applicant is requesting a second ground sign to be located adjacent to South Washington Avenue. A site plan is under review with a proposal to subdivide the property with 2 parcels fronting South Washington Avenue. Approval of the variance will result in 1 ground sign for each parcel. The master plan that was approved with the UV rezoning ordinance proposes several ground signs, including 1 pylon sign adjacent to South Washington Avenue. The wayfinding and signage plan stated that variances will be required for ground signs in excess of the maximum permitted per the city's code. The applicant's current variance request is a deviation from the approved master plan. The applicant proposes 2 pole signs on South Washington Avenue. See exhibits labeled pylon sign type 4 and sign type A. The pole signs are permitted a height of 35 feet fronting arterial roadways, South Washington Avenue. The applicant is proposing the following heights. The pylon sign type 4, height of 25 feet, and sign type A, height of 35 feet. The purpose of the pole sign is to advertise several businesses that will be located in the development. The location and height of the pole sign should give drivers ample time to identify businesses prior to entering the proposed main entrance to the development. The International Sign Association recommends sign dimensions based on the adjacent road speed. The speed limit on South Washington Avenue is 45 miles per hour. Drivers should be able to view a 35-foot tall ground sign at that speed and safely make a decision to turn into the property. Surface area of ground signs. The maximum area of ground or monument signs, including directory of occupant signs for a development, shall be based upon street frontage on a right-of-way. According to Section 32-9B of the Code, the following surface areas are permitted for ground signs fronting the following roadways. On South Washington Avenue to the east, 357 feet, the maximum sign surface area is 96 square feet. If the variance request to allow a second ground sign is approved, then the surface area shall be shared between both signs, unless the variance request to increase the surface area is also approved. Approval of the variance will allow the following surface areas. Pylon sign type 4, the proposed surface area estimated at 137 square feet, and sign type A, the proposed surface area is estimated at 275 square feet. However, the applicant is requesting 360 square feet. Along Hopkins Avenue to the west, 428 feet, the maximum sign surface area is 96 square feet. Approval of the variance would allow a surface area of 360 square feet for sign type C. The proposed surface area is estimated at 275 square feet. The request is to allow more than twice the maximum surface areas for roadway frontages greater than 500 linear feet, or an increase of 240%. According to the International Sign Association, a freestanding sign is based on several factors, primarily among them the amount of time a motorist has to view the sign, the distance from which the sign will be viewed, the amount of information that can be comprehended during the viewing time, the required size of the letters, the ratio of the message area, letters, logos, and symbols, to the sign's background. Additionally, the size and clarity are influenced by lighting, colors, and the letter font. Generally, the smaller signs will be associated with lower speeds and larger signs associated with higher speeds. There are numerous factors that influence the surface area of a sign, including the speed of a roadway, number of lanes, setback, and height of the sign. The American Planning Association suggests a general sign surface area of 128 square feet for roadways with speed limits of 40 miles per hour and 242 square feet for speed limits of 55 miles per hour. These are generalized recommendations based on speed of travel and viewer reaction time. Additional considerations: it should be noted that no development may have more than one sign that contains a dynamic or variable message display. Sign type A and sign type C Each include a dynamic or variable message sign. A separate variance will be required, which is not part of this application. Recommendation. For a second ground sign, the staff generally has no objection to a second ground sign to front South Washington Avenue. The variance should be the minimum necessary to make reasonable use of the land. Based on the site plan under review, approval of the variance will result in one ground sign for each parcel fronting South Washington Avenue. Approval of the variance should provide enough signage for the numerous businesses and uses that will be located in the proposed development. Surface area of ground signs. Staff recommends approval of the variance to increase the ground sign surface areas for pylon sign type 4 on South Washington Avenue, surface area of 137 square feet. Sign type A on South Washington Avenue, surface area of 275 square feet. And sign type C on South Hopkins Avenue, surface area of 275 square feet. For a total of 412 square feet for the development. Granting the variances would be the minimum necessary to make reasonable use of the development. Approval of the variance should provide enough sign surface area for the numerous businesses and uses that will be located in the proposed development.
Thank you. Were there any exhibits or attachments that you feel that you should point anything out to us to help focus us in on anything?
There are a lot.
I mean, you don't have to go through all them all, but if there's
Sure.
something you wanted to pinpoint for us, that would be helpful too. If it's even necessary, I don't know.
Well, I think the locations are probably the most important, and so if I could point you to page 42 of 78, that's where sign 4 is located, where the red arrow is pointing to on South Washington Avenue. And then the other sign is on page... It's very hard to read. 48 of 78. It also says sign type A in the lower left corner, but that sign is a little bit further south, also along South Washington Avenue. So if the variants were approved to allow 2 signs, those are the 2 locations along South Washington Avenue.
Okay, questions?
Page 48, and what was the first page? 42?
Any other questions of staff? No? Okay, first card.
Mark Frank.
Applicant, yes, come on up. Name and address, please.
Yeah, my name's Mark Frank at 1703 Crossville Drive, Titusville, Florida. I'm here representing Titus Mall LLC for Jesse Wright. And I just want to say I do agree with the variances that they suggested. So what we did in the beginning is we had a sign that we said 360 square feet, but the actually dimensioning on there that from Brian put that at 292 square feet. So that even reduced the size of the square footage on there, which is shown on, let's see if I got the page here. Should have right here. That would be shown on, well, I don't have the page number here.
Okay, I think that's...
Section 32-13 dynamic. Oh, that's for the digital board. Should I bring that up
If
to
you just want
someone?
to show
Or?
it, let me just see real quick.
Okay.
You can just literally show it. I think that's page 49. Is it?
So when we dimensioned the sign, what we did is we did the overall sign, and he said, no, you don't have to do that. He did a reduction on each one of the parcels on the sign. So we're not asking for 360 square feet. We're asking for the 292. So that's the only discrepancy that I saw on that.
Okay.
Okay.
Anything else that you wanted to share?
Well, I have some evidence I guess I would give to you that shows distancing for each one of you to look at. And I'll wait for him to get up.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
this corresponds with what the gentleman was talking about. And if we go to your second page that shows the actual layout, if it was only 150 square feet, the tenant panels would only have a 5-inch maximum height, which at 5-inch maximum height, you're only allowed 60 feet to make a turn at 45 miles an hour to point out what shop you want to go to. Of course, we have GPS nowadays, but people, if you ever watch them, they'll look, they'll slow down, stop, and slow down. So I think it's a distraction. Where if we go to 14 inches, which if the variance is allowed, 14 inches will allow you at the minimum of 120, 150 square feet or around 140, up to 600 feet to view that. So it will keep from hampering the actual traffic on US 1, which now you see and many of us see that we're getting way more traffic than we used to be 18 years ago when I started the sign business here. So that's one of the evidence that I have that I feel that we need to address on that. On the final page, on the third page, that shows the Titus Landing, which has actually 5 monument and ground signs on US 1. Now, their parcel is, of course, longer, and I believe they did section that out to each parcel. So that went through variances on there. So this is another comparison that I'm showing, which would stay in line with the other variances in Titusville.
Yeah, that was my question, is which one of these is in size comparable to what you're requesting? But I think you're saying these are all representative?
They're all representative of the size, yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions of the applicant? Nope. All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Any other cards?
Lisa McCotter.
Welcome. Name and address, please.
Lisa McCotter, 515 Country Club Drive, and I'm with Titusville Resort and Destination. I just ask for your support of the variance and also staff recommendation.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other cards?
No, ma'am.
All right. Coming back to the board then, any discussion or questions of staff?
Do we need to vote on this since it's 2 things in one, or is it just one motion to vote on?
I recommend that you separate them.
All right. Okay. I had a feeling you were going to say that. Here we go.
Do we want them to key up the?
Oh, I forgot. Is there a video that you all wanted to put up?
Yeah, I believe there was a video.
Okay, so we'll run the video then.
Okay.
Thank you, Kim.
That I said in front of the members and the mayor that we're going to need 3 variances, and it's on the tape. I asked for the buffer zone to be about 10 feet. I asked for the size of the parking spaces to be about 9 by 18 instead of 10 by 20. And I also asked for 2 signs. 2 signs on US 1 because we're going to be introducing a hotel and also the rest of the developments. Titus Landing is 31 acres. We are at 22 acres. They've got almost 9 acres, larger.
Okay. I thought I also, just as a quick comment, 3 variances. I did read in the additional considerations that a separate variance would be required for any sort of dynamic sign, but that's not in the works.
We have not received that application.
Okay. All right. Any either motion or discussion from the board?
Well, I'll make a motion on the first part on the second ground sign to variance number 26-2002, that to approve the language there from staff of no objection to the second ground sign.
Okay. I have a motion to approve a second ground sign as suggested by staff. Do I have a second?
A second.
I have a second. Any discussion amongst the board? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Alternate Member Mandernack.
Yes.
Chairwoman Smith Rodriguez.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Taylor.
Yes.
Member Beckles.
Yes.
Member Van Deven.
Yes.
Okay, second ground sign is approved. Any further motions?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and make the second part on the variance 26-2022 for the surface area of the ground signs as recommended by staff on page 36 of the staff report.
Okay, I have a motion for approval of the staff's recommendations of the surface area for ground signs. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. Any discussion amongst the board? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Vice Chairman Taylor.
Yes.
Member Beckles.
Yes.
Member Van Deven.
Yes.
Alternate Member Mandernack.
Yes.
Chairwoman Smith Rodriguez.
Yes. All right, surface area on page 36, which I think is, as you said, is 275. Good to go. All right, so your variances are good to go. So are you.
I wanted to thank this distinguished panel very much, and we look forward to this development getting off and running.
As do we.
Y'all have a good evening.
Thank you. You too. All right. I know. All right. March 29th, 2023 meeting. Do I need to know something?
There's a conflict with the space on that date, and so we're looking to reschedule and want to know which date is best for you all for March 2023. We've got a couple options there.
All right, if you all have your calendars and you need to take a look, pull those out.
I already checked, and I don't have any conflicts with any of the proposed dates.
All right, I did not check. All right, go ahead.
So we've got March 29th, that's Wednesday, March 30th on Thursday, Tuesday, April 4th, or Thursday, April 6th. Oh,
The March 29th meeting is the one you're rescheduling.
thank you, Kim.
So you have the Thursday, the Thursday, Tuesday, or Thursday.
Right. So Wednesday is not available that week. So it would be the Thursday of that same week or the following week, Tuesday or Thursday. Thanks, Kim.
Personally, I just soon do it on the 30th, day after, instead of waiting till next April, next month.
Okay. Any other suggestion? Correctly, you said you're good to go. Mr. Taylor suggests the 30th of March. Either any other input? Thursdays are good. Okay. All right. Then that'll work. March 30th.
Thank you.
All right. So that takes care of the March 2023 meeting. Now move to the 30th. I think that's pretty much real business. Any other reports?
None from staff.
Council? All right. I don't see any public here, so I just want to make sure we have no other cards.
No, ma'am.
Okay, just checking. I skipped over it because I didn't see anybody. Then if there's nothing else from the board, anything from the board? No?
Just wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
All right. Then that's it. We are adjourning our meeting at 6:39.